So what if checking off your to-do list today is actually, contributing to the destruction of the planet?
Oh, wow. Starting heavy today.
Right. I mean, usually when we talk about productivity with you all, there is this there's this really heavy expectation of optimization.
Yeah, the daily grind.
Exactly, the grind. You wake up, you check your inbox, you stare at your calendar, and you try to figure out how to squeeze like just a little bit more output from your day.
Right, and it doesn't matter what you're doing.
Yeah, whether you are trying to hit a company sales quota or maybe learn a new programming language or, I don't know, just finally clear out your garage, you are operating under a very specific, universally accepted definition of what it means to be productive.
And that definition is, it's highly measurable. It treats human effort almost like an industrial machine. You put the time and the raw materials in and you get the product out.
Yeah.
We've basically structured our entire global economy around this single forward-marching metric.
We really have.
Hmm.
But today, we are taking a massive step back from that metric. We are completely dismantling this concept of productivity that you probably think about every single day.
Yeah, we are.
We are doing a deep dive into an incredibly intriguing essay for 2008. It is titled Reflections on Productivity, written by Zhu Feng with an edited translation by Kinyu.
It's a fascinating piece.
It really is. And this text asks a genuinely radical question, which is, what if our fundamental definition of getting things done is entirely backwards?
Right.
Like, what if the very concept we use to measure human progress is actually a recipe for global ecological collapse?
Yeah, this is a text that forces you to check all of your modern assumptions right at the door.
Oh, absolutely.
What starts as, a simple critique of a dictionary definition takes us on this fascinating multi-layered journey. We move from linguistics to environmentalism, and ultimately we end up in some very deep philosophical and theological territory.
Yeah, it really goes there.
It fundamentally challenges the core of how humanity views its place on this planet.
But, I mean, before we can redefine productivity, we have to establish the baseline.
Right.
We have to look at how the modern world currently defines it, because that is the engine driving our behavior.
Definitely. And the essay begins by basically holding up a mirror to our current mindset, specifically by quoting the authoritative modern Chinese dictionary.
Right.
The definition it provides for productivity is remarkably revealing. It defines it as the ability of people combined with the means of production, meaning our tools, our technology, the objects of our labor to conquer and transform nature.
Okay, so let's unpack this real quick because the language there is so intensely combative.
Oh, it's very aggressive.
Right, conquering and transforming nature. This dictionary definition treats nature like an enemy army that we have to defeat, rather than, the house we actually live in.
Exactly.
If we are literally a part of nature, which we are, biologically speaking, doesn't conquering nature just mean we are violently conquering ourselves?
Well, what's fascinating here is how the author zeroes in on exactly that contradiction. The essay argues that this combative definition is unscientific, awkward, and honestly profoundly unsettling.
Yeah, I mean, why must we conquer it?
Right. The author asks a very direct question. Why not aim for peaceful coexistence and mutual benefit? Nature, as the text points out, is already inherently beautiful. It operates in a perfect, delicate balance in its original state.
Yeah, the atmosphere, the mountains, the river systems, the soil biomes, they all operate in this incredible self-sustaining loop.
Exactly. And when we decide that our primary goal as a species is to, quote, transform that perfect balance, the essay argues we are essentially engineering our own doom.
Wow.
And the text doesn't just speak in abstract terms either. It outlines the specific mechanisms of this destruction.
Right, it gets very practical.
Yeah, think about how the conquer and transform mindset actually plays out in the real world. If you view an ancient forest merely as a standing inventory of lumber, just a raw material to be transformed, you cut it down.
Obviously, yeah.
But in doing so, you remove the complex root systems that hold the earth together.
Right, and then the soil washes away, the rivers choke on the sediment, and suddenly the fish die off. It's a chain reaction.
Exactly. The mindset itself is the mechanism of disaster. The author lists the catastrophic consequences that directly follow this human-centric transformation.
What kind of consequences?
Things like rising global temperatures, melting glaciers, diminishing species, widespread desertification, and soil acidification.
God, it's bleak.
Yeah, it is. The essay paints a vivid picture of polluted skies, devastating floods, and ultimate ecological imbalance.
Yeah.
The central argument in this first section is that our so-called productivity, our endless extraction and manufacturing, is actually just a highly efficient mechanism for eventual ecological collapse.
It is a sobering realization, especially considering this was written back in 2008.
Right, it was way ahead of its time.
It feels incredibly prescient when you scroll through the daily news today. But, if the dictionary definition is literally a blueprint for killing the planet, there has to be a functional alternative.
Right, we need a new model.
Exactly. We cannot just operate on a framework that guarantees our own extinction. So what is the author proposing we replace it with?
Well, the text introduces what it calls the Lifechanyuan definition of productivity.
Okay. And just for context for everyone listening, Lifechanyuan is the philosophical and spiritual community founded by the author.
Right.
And their writings aim to completely reconstruct how we relate to the universe.
Yes, and their definition of productivity is breathtakingly simple compared to the dictionary version. It just states, any factor capable of production is productivity.
Any factor capable of production. Wow. Okay, that broadens the scope
It
immensely.
really does.
It takes the spotlight entirely off of humanity.
Exactly. Under this new lens, the definition is stripped of its human-centric bias. The earth itself is the primary productivity because it produces the plants, the flowers, and the crops.
It indirectly sustains all the wild animals, the birds, the insects, and us. Rivers, lakes, and oceans are productivity because they nurture countless forms of aquatic life.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because the text brings up a famous saying, right? Science and technology are the primary productive forces.
Oh yeah, the classic modern mantra.
Right. And if you are listening to this deep dive on a smartphone right now, or you're driving a car equipped with GPS, it is really hard to swallow the idea that human technology isn't the primary productive force.
We do love our gadgets.
We love to give ourselves the credit. We think our global supply chains, our artificial intelligence, our silicon microchips, we think that is the ultimate pinnacle of productivity. But the author is basically stripping all that credit away, right?
They absolutely are. The author views these technological claims as dangerously narrow.
How so?
Well, the text points out a hard, undeniable truth. Humans are not the decisive factor. The decisive factors are sunlight, air, water, and the earth.
Okay, I see where they're going with this. Consider the mechanism of photosynthesis, which is mentioned in the text. Sunlight provides the essential energy that allows plants to convert carbon dioxide and water into food.
Right.
Without that foundational process, human beings cannot produce anything. In fact, without sunlight, air, water, or the earth, humans literally cannot decide to do anything because we would cease to exist.
We'd be gone.
Exactly. We cannot manufacture a single microchip without the rare earth metals and the life-sustaining environment that nature freely provides.
So basically, we are just rearranging the furniture in a house that nature built.
That's a great way to put it.
Like we didn't pour the foundation, we didn't frame the walls, but we are taking credit for the whole building just because we moved a sofa into the living room.
Yeah, that analogy captures the author's critique perfectly. And taking this realization, the essay sharply and impartially rewrites those original dictionary definitions we discussed earlier.
Oh, really? How do they rewrite it?
Instead of humans being the decisive factor of progress, the text argues that a more scientifically accurate statement would be, humans are the primary factor in the destruction of nature.
Wow. That is a devastating flip.
It is, and the critique goes even further. The essay states that our so-called level of productivity development doesn't mark our conquest of nature at all.
What does it mark then?
It actually marks the extent of our destruction of nature.
Oh, man.
Yeah, when we measure our technological advancements and our soaring GDPs, we're really just measuring how efficiently and rapidly we are dismantling the natural world.
That is a massive paradigm shift for anyone wrapped up in modern corporate culture.
Definitely.
But it brings up a huge lingering question for me. If nature is doing all the heavy lifting, right? If the earth and the sun and the oceans are acting as the true factory of the world, how did that factory get built?
Right.
Because the intricate balance of the ecosystem didn't just assemble itself out of thin air.
Well, to answer that question, the essay shifts from environmental observation into a much deeper philosophical inquiry. And rather than keeping things abstract, the author takes the reader right into their own backyard.
Yes. I found this section of the text incredibly compelling because it brings these massive global concepts down to a microscopic, really tactile level.
Yeah, the garden examples.
Right. The author gives us two vivid anecdotes from their garden. First, they were out working in the cucumber field.
Mm-hmm.
And they noticed that every single cucumber vine grows these little tendrils about half a foot apart. And the mechanics of these tendrils are just
They
fascinating.
really are.
The text describes how when a tendril cannot reach anything, it simply grows straight. But the very second it makes contact with a support structure like a stick or a fence, it coils tightly around it.
Like a spring.
Exactly. And that coiling action literally pulls the whole vine upward, allowing it to climb toward the sunlight.
It is a flawless, tiny mechanism of survival and growth.
It is. And the second anecdote is about the climbers' plants like Boston ivy, growing behind the author's backyard bar.
Oh, the sticky feet.
Yes. These thin little stems manage to scale vertical walls, climbing all the way up to the rooftop. And the author asks, how do they pull that off without falling?
Right. Gravity should pull them right down.
Exactly. And the text describes how they periodically produce these little feet that actually secrete a sticky liquid. It acts like a biological adhesive, tightly binding the plant to the surface, so it can effortlessly scale sheer cliffs or brick walls.
When you look closely at those biological mechanisms, I mean, it really is an engineering marvel.
It is an engineering marvel.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I struggle a bit with the leap the author makes next.
Okay, tell me why.
Well, I look at those coiling cucumber tendrils or those sticky ivy feet, and I see a product of millions of years of evolution, right? The plants with the sticky feet survived to pass on their genetic code, and the ones that fell off the wall didn't.
Sure, the biological imperative.
Right, so how does the author make the leap from a climbing backyard plant to a divine architect?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture the author is drawing, it comes down to the source of wisdom.
The source of wisdom.
Yes, the author asks the reader to think deeply about the nature of intelligence itself. Are cucumbers and climbers truly intelligent? Do they possess conscious wisdom or, engineering degrees?
Well, no, obviously not.
Right. The text argues that, of course not, they are just plants. Therefore, their mechanical ingenuity, the perfectly timed secretion of adhesive, the spatial awareness of a coiling tendril must reflect the wisdom of an external intelligence.
I see.
This is where the essay introduces its core theological conclusion. It argues that nature is continuously enlightening us, revealing that an extraordinarily intelligent being exists behind all of this flawless design.
A being the author refers to as God, or the greatest creator.
Yes. It's important to understand this is a core philosophical belief driving the essay. The text makes a definitive leap from observing the mechanics of biology to asserting the existence of a divine architect.
Okay, so bringing it back to our main topic.
Right, productivity. According to this framework, the ultimate answer to the question, what is productivity, is that the greatest creator is productivity.
Wow.
And the answer to who is the primary productive force is, again, the greatest creator. The perfection we see in the cucumber vine isn't random chance, but the signature of a primary productive force that vastly outstrips any factory or technology human beings could ever invent.
It is a complete transfer of power.
Completely.
We are moving all the way from the human ego driving a tractor back to the sun and the soil, and ultimately up to an intelligent creator.
Right.
But, if the dictionary is fundamentally wrong about us needing to conquer the world, and if nature does the real work,
Mm-hmm.
and if a creator is the ultimate source of that majestic productivity, what is the practical application here?
How do we actually live?
Yes. How are we supposed to actually live our lives tomorrow morning?
Well, the text argues for a massive collective step back. It presents a blueprint for living that is rooted in profound intellectual humility.
Intellectual humility. I like that phrase.
Humanity is instructed to revere the Creator, to respect life, and that's life with a capital L-I-F-E, to cherish nature, and to strictly follow its inherent laws.
Yeah.
The profound promise the author makes is that if we do this, nature will beautifully arrange everything for us.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Because our entire society is built on the premise of interference.
It is. We literally can't stop meddling.
We dig, we pave, we extract, we optimize. This essay is essentially asking us to stop interfering entirely. But is it really as simple as just letting nature arrange everything for us?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right, because that feels like a remarkably tough pill to swallow for a species that is completely obsessed with maintaining control. Are we supposed to just sit back and do nothing?
Well, this raises an important question, and it highlights the exact tension the author addresses in the final warning of the essay.
There's a warning.
Yes, the text readily acknowledges that human beings have a terrible time relinquishing control. We always think we know better.
Always.
But the essay posits that whenever we insist on using our limited human intelligence and skills to alter nature, we rarely make things better. In fact, the more we try to conquer and alter, the worse the situation becomes.
Because it creates a vicious cycle of interference, right?
Exactly.
Like we invent chemical fertilizers to artificially boost crap productivity, which ends up destroying the natural microbiome of the soil.
Right.
So then we have to invent harsher chemicals to fix the dead soil, and those chemicals run off and poison the river systems. We create a massive problem by interfering, and then our hubris tricks us into thinking we can use more interference to fix the problem we just created.
That vicious cycle is exactly what the author is warning against. If you synthesize all the arguments presented in this text, you realize this essay isn't just a piece about environmental conservation.
Oh, it's way bigger than that.
And it isn't just a theological declaration about a creator either. It is a profound call for humanity to recognize its own limitations.
Mm-hmm.
It is asking us to surrender our obsession with control, to realize that our attempts to artificially manage the planet are arrogant and ultimately self-destructive. True productivity, according to the author, is found in harmony, not domination.
It really makes you look at your own daily ambitions through a completely different lens.
It certainly does.
When you zoom out and look at the whole journey this deep dive has taken us on today, it is quite a ride.
From dictionaries to cucumbers to God.
Exactly. We started with this aggressive, deeply combative dictionary definition of humanity conquering nature.
Right.
We challenged the hubris of our own technology.
Mm-hmm.
We knelt down in the dirt to look closely at the quiet, clever mechanics of cucumber vines and ivy feet. And that led us all the way to a theological call for profound harmony, submitting our egos to the ultimate productivity of a creator.
It forces a complete reevaluation of what we value and how we measure progress. Not just as a global society building factories, but, as individuals navigating our own lives.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up today, we want to leave you with something to chew on.
Yeah. If the traditional flawed idea of productivity is about aggressively conquering the physical world, consider how this combative mindset might have trickled down into how you treat yourself.
Oh, that's interesting.
Are you constantly trying to conquer your own natural human rhythms? Do you fight your biological need for rest or aggressively caffeinate your way through natural energy slumps, all in the name of forcing more output?
Guilt is charged.
Right. What if, just like the author suggests for the Earth, you stopped trying to forcefully transform your own nature? What if you allowed yourself to grow naturally, coiling your energy only where you naturally find support?
I think we could all use a little more harmony and a little less conquering. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you, and we will catch you next time.